Hello and welcome to a Path of Exile 3.25 Reave build discussion. This is with the experimental update for the PoE community fork. So if the PoE in the description does not work for you, that is why you need to enable that. To enable that, it is... where is it? Here. Opt in, and you can then update and use the community fork. So this is Reave, and this is against Uber Pinnacles, and this is roughly the amount of damage that you would have with roughly this much investment. So does have a Blizzard Crown, does have Legacy of Fury, so this is not like walked off of and with like a T1 Fizz Dagger, modified for expected like crit strike chance, expected like added fire damage that I would see. But if that isn't cope enough for you, that's more in line of what I expect to see. So as you can tell, pretty decent damage. This is trying to account for like all the different aura reservation changes, hatred no longer dealing the like % more cold damage, all sorts of like weird stuff, but that is all replaced in the config. 100% chance to deal double damage is just a simulation of the scaling from Vol Reave, the baseline Reave, going from 250% scaling to 530 something. I think 534 was the new scaling. So that's all in the simulation. The 30% more attack damage is from Rage. We'll get Rage from anointing this guy, Veteran's Wrath, which is 2 golden and 1 violet. So if you do want to play a Rage build but be on the right hand side of tree, this will give you 30 Rage, which is 30% more damage after 7.5 seconds, which is pretty busted. That 7.5 seconds kind of works in our benefit as we are taking advantage of this cold mastery here. So we, after 10 seconds, as long as we're freezing, the enemy will take 50% increased damage, and that is used in this config as well as a maxed out shock. If this amount of flat lightning isn't capping your shock, then maybe that is. And if that isn't, get a yoke. All this combined damage will then cause you to shock. The reason that Vol Reave hits so hard is because it already has intrinsically insane value, and I do expect the Vol Reave to go up as well. And Vol Reave is not affected by repeats, so repeats do not benefit it. This means that in like a general mapping scenario, I do think that at least for Vol Reave, multi-strike isn't going to be required. Vol Reave, you can use Frostblink during it, and you can have up to 3 charges. So you can press Vol Reave, Frostblink, Vol Reave, Frostblink, Vol Reave, Frostblink, and then all of a sudden you just cleared like a quarter of your fucking map. And Vol Reave has a 2-second soul prevention rate. So you literally like can pop a strong box and all of a sudden you have all your souls for Vol Reave again. Like I swear this is like how this skill actually plays. I've played many Reave characters all the way since when the skill literally had 175% base damage. It already has like an extra 125% increased damage than when I initially started playing a lot of Reave builds. Pretty much every single league I fought around with a Reave build. Like, that's a very traditional thing. I've done so many different variants of Reave. My favorite one is White Wind Reave, but that's later in this video. The aura setup is always going to be around Precision, Herald of Ash, Blood and Sand with a Fizz Dagger. That is the goal. And you don't actually need Enlighten because Precision is really just here to cap your accuracy. If you get like even just like 300 or 400 accuracy on a piece of gear, you will no longer need Enlighten whatsoever. And my current character that I will show is literally using a level 1 Precision because it has enough accuracy. So I then no longer need Enlighten. Once you do that, you can then potentially play around with Tinctures because, as you can tell, we have 157 unreserved mana. That's enough to employ a Tincture if they are at all good. If they are not good, we don't need to use a Tincture. And you can just level up Precision and ignore Tinctures because I have no idea what the current state of Tinctures are. Our Atlas passive, or not Atlas passives, our passive tree is also conveniently located near some Tincture effect, but not a lot. We have Tincture here and Tincture here, as well as Tincture here. I think this is the better of all the Tincture nodes, but I may be wrong. The Tincture Mastery for 6 mana burn, the first 6 mana burn applied to you have no effect is very, very beneficial, especially for the case of Reave. If Reave works with this, Reave naturally hits 7 additional repeats, so 8 total hits. So Reave will basically like just give you insane amount of mana burn, like off the rip. So this may be a bad idea with Reave. This may be a good idea with Reave. I don't know. It all depends on how these Tincture things actually end up working. Part of the reason why I want to go Trickster is because of Blizzard Crown being a hybrid base as well as just a good source of general damage. Blizzard Crown is not needed for this build. However, Vertex is a nice option as well. Ritual also got buffed mechanically wise. I have no idea if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We haven't played with it yet. However, Reave is basically the size of Ritual, and if you want a fast Ritual blaster, look no further than Reave. You basically just sit in the middle, Frostblink around, and click Vol Reave on repeat. Reave Pete? Anyways. Blood Rage, this is a degen, but as you can tell, we do have, like, because of Trickster, we have, like, the energy shield regen, so it's not going to mean that we're always on full ES. However, at least with this configuration, we are, for the most part, always going to have ES, especially while mapping. Like, if you take the mapping consideration with polymath, it's just going to top you off, so that's fine. Additionally, you could get instant, 10% of leech is instant, or something like that on the tree. Obviously, you'd have to drop some of your crit multiplier in order to get that, and if you're not pathing up this way, I guess you could path this way, but pathing this way, it gives you all of the necessary intelligence to, number 1, equip a dagger, number 2, benefit your ES a little bit, and number 3, Frostblink can then be maxed instead of like level like 10 or 15 or something, so you get better benefit out of Frostblink. So that's the main reason why I'm pathing this way, on top of just getting better ES scaling, access to Night Stalker, access to Lethe Shade, and potentially Snowforge. However, in path of building here, it's not really that big of a deal, whereas like 3 points down here ends up being more of a big deal, like just these 2 points versus like 3 points up here. So pathing down here ends up being much better point efficiency for like just free damage. Obviously, we are stacking frenzies. If you are doing bosses, you would just take the 10% chance to gain a frenzy charge when you hit your marked enemy, and you'll be topped up in like 10-15 seconds, no problem. Additionally, this build can use like shield charge instead of like whirling blades, or whichever way you prefer. Some of the experimental buffs that you can play with, it would be a Vol Haste. You could play with the new War Banner that's 8% more attack damage, basically, or like 5% more attack damage. The new Berserk, whatever that ends up being, it's obviously not going to be that much of a damage increase for you, but it'll be something. And after 7.5 seconds, you'll gain it back. Smite, but Smite isn't working in this PoB. It might require me. Oh yeah, you need a sword, axe, mace, scepter, staff, or unarmed. So unfortunately, it doesn't work with this. However, if you were to allocate your non-auras into your weapon and shield, you can do a weapon swap with like an increased duration smite, maybe. That would just help your like burst situation for bosses a lot. So that's an option as well. How the conversion is working here to get a good split for Trinity. You can kind of ignore the fire. This is kind of unrealistic fire damage. However, for the sake of consistency, let's just talk about the cold and lightning. The min cold is lower than the min lightning, and the top end lightning is way higher than the top end cold. That's all you need for Trinity. If your cold is like within the middle range, like top end middle range, is the middle range for your lightning, you're fine. As long as your min doesn't exceed the min on lightning, you will never have an issue with this. This basically means that cold needs to roll like above 50% every hit, and then lightning needs to not sporadically hit like 180k. So it's fine. It's fine. Volatility does not really do much for us, so there's no volatility. You can try to play around with stuff, but just keep in mind that certain different skill gem combinations will drastically reduce your Vol Reave, and your Vol Reave is basically like a guaranteed like shock on bosses while mapping and a guaranteed freeze on bosses while mapping. At least that's how it feels like currently. So there's some stuff to take in consideration. And that's before like you get into like the double damage and everything, because the character that I'm about to show you in game does not do anywhere near this amount of damage. So let's go in game. This character is using the Blood and Sands, just Arctic armor to simulate, but the Herald of Purity tech with the Hatred. So I now have Hatred, and it's instant, so you can press it while reaving if you notice like it fell off like while mapping. And right now while Reave currently has my 9 stacks. Now it has 10. So as you can tell, even with an ultra wide, it's like hitting the edge of the screen. While mapping in like super dense maps or doing rituals, you're gonna have no problem hitting the edge of your screen. And it does in fact work with your Frostblink. It is also possible to hit this and target an area, attack a few times, Frostblink, and like double tag, but that's incredibly random. The set pattern is a certain way, so you would need to Frostblink in a certain direction every single time in order to double hits, and even then it is very, 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 very inconsistent. And I'm not going to go like slow frame by frame to examine like the hit rate for Vol Reave. I'm not that sweaty of a gamer. As you can tell, the Hatred effect wore off, but we can reapply it. So that's pretty much it for this build. I don't really need to show you much. This character hit level 97. It does not run Grace. It's fine on defensive evasion rating. The newer build is going to have almost the same amount of life with substantially more ES, because this build just used flat evasion armor. It didn't have like anything crazy. So yeah, this build did fine. It is able to like permafreeze T16 bosses, but that's like with the Ancestral Warchief. Another thing, very last minute, but the change with the Ancestral Warchief power being removed and then put into the base game is a huge benefit for a build like mine, because it is not taking advantage of a level 20 protector. It is not taking advantage of a level 20 Warchief. It doesn't have the strength to do it. And the newer build actually requires even less strength. It only requires 114, which is the strength for, or 111, pardon me, which is the strength for your pulverized support. If you do choose to use Berserk, you will need to get the strength in the build even higher than what I currently have provided in the PoE. PoE is like around 50 base strength, so you will need to get 30 strength from an amulet, so strength base is your friend, as well as like a 50 strength implicit, or not implicit, substat somewhere on a ring. So that's pretty much the gist of the build. Yoke and taming are very, very valuable. Getting a fizz as lightning on the glove is incredibly valuable, because the current PoE only converts 90% of fizz to lightning, so that last 10% will help even out your min and max to very comfortably sit in the cold window. So that's ideally what you would want to do with your gloves. You don't need like any of this gear. This is a completely different build. That's it for this video. I hope this helps somebody decide on a potential league starter. See you in the next one. Bye.